HVAC zones define spaces that have common environmental or design requirements. Typically, the mechanical team will zone the building before running the heating and cooling loads. To create an HVAC zone, on the Analyze ribbon, in the Spaces and Zones panel, click Zone. With the tool active, Revit enters into Edit Zone mode, as can be seen by the contextual ribbon. In the Mode panel, Add Space is selected by default, and Revit prompts me to select a space to add to the zone. I'll start in the northeast portion of the building and begin clicking spaces. Each time I click to add a space to the zone, a thick black line representing the zone surrounds the space. I can also use a window to select multiple spaces at once. If I add a space that I do not want in the zone, I can select Remove Space in the contextual ribbon. Then, each space I click will be removed from the current zone. Looking in the Properties palette, I can modify the name before the zone is created, or specify any of the available parameters. Once I have all the spaces in the zone, I can click Finish Editing Zone to create the zone. Once the zone has been created, the thick black line still appears around the zone. When I move my cursor near the edge of the zone or near the center, I can see that web-like reference lines highlight. These reference lines connect each space in the zone. I can simply click to select the zone. With the zone selected, the ribbon changes to the Modify HVAC Zones contextual ribbon, and I can specify any of the parameters in the Properties palette, such as the zone name. There is also an Edit Zone button in the contextual ribbon. When I click this button, Revit enters Edit Zone mode once again, and I can add additional spaces to the zone or remove spaces. I'll click Cancel Editing Zone. You can also select spaces before creating a zone. For example, I'll hold down the Control key and select a few spaces. Then I'll switch to the Analyze ribbon and click Zone. When I do, a zone is automatically created with the spaces I had selected added to the zone. I'll click in blank space to deselect the zone. Once zones have been created, you can control their appearance by using the visibility and graphic overrides or a view template. For example, you may not want to see the thick lines surrounding the zones. You can also create a color fill legend to create a zoning plan. To do this, switch to the Annotate ribbon. Then in the Color Fill panel, click Color Fill Legend. Click in the building courtyard area to place the legend. Next, we need to add a color scheme to the view. Looking in the Properties palette, I can see most of the parameters are grayed out for the current view. Therefore, a view template must be assigned to the view. I can verify this by looking in the View Template field. As you can see, a view template has been assigned to this view. I'll click the button next to View Template to open the Apply View Template dialog. I can now add a color scheme to the view template so that the same color scheme will be used for each view that is using this template. This will allow me to quickly add a color fill legend to the other levels. To add a color scheme, scroll down to Color Scheme and click the button in the Value field. Revit displays the Edit Color Scheme dialog. Click to expand the category drop-down and then select HVAC Zones. At the moment, there is only one scheme available. I'll select that scheme in the Schemes list. When I do, we can see the scheme definition. I'll click OK to add the color scheme to the view template, and then click OK to close the Apply View Template dialog. Back in the drawing area, the zones have been filled with a color, and the legend shows the zone name and associated color. Now, each time I create a new zone, it will be filled and added to the legend. You can also create a space schedule and add the zone to the scheduled fields so that you can see which zone the space belongs to. You can also create a zone schedule. Simply right-click on Schedules Quantities in the project browser and choose New Schedule Quantities. Revit displays the New Schedule dialog. From the category list, select HVAC Zones and then click OK. Next, in the Schedule Properties dialog, you can select any of the available fields to add to the schedule. In this example, I'll select Name and then click Add. I'll also add Occupied Area and Level. Then I'll click OK to create the schedule. Now we can see the zones that have already been created in the project along with their occupied area and level. Realize that the default zone appears here as well.